Namaskar. A warm welcome to World News and Indian Perspective on All India Radio. This is Vaibhav Jyotsna Srivastav, and with me is Abhineet Shukla, bringing glimpses of the major developments of the day from across the globe. Over the next half an hour, we shall bring you the latest from the world of politics, economy, sports, entertainment, and more. The headlines. Indian Defence Minister Rajnath Singh calls upon SCO member states to fight against terrorism together, addresses the SCO Defence Ministers meeting at Tashkent in Uzbekistan. Indian External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar calls on President of Brazil Jair Bolsonaro in Brasilia. Education Minister of India Dharmendra Pradhan holds talks with academic leaders of top Australian universities. Strengthening research collaborations with India is a win-win for all. US President Joe Biden announces nearly $3 billion military aid to Ukraine on its Independence Day. Silence Constitutional Court temporarily suspends Prime Minister Prayut pending term limit review. And shuttlers H.S. Pranoy and Lakshya Sen to face each other in All India Men's Singles pre-quarterfinal of World Championships in Tokyo. Indian Defence Minister Rajnath Singh has called upon Shanghai Cooperation Organization (SCO) to fight against terrorism unitedly and eliminate the menace in all its forms. Addressing the SCO Defence Ministers meeting at Tashkent in Uzbekistan on Wednesday, he asserted that terrorism in any form, including cross-border terrorism, is a crime against humanity. Mr. Singh said terrorism is one of the most serious challenges to global peace and security. He said India reiterates its resolve to fight all forms of terrorism and make the region peaceful, secure and stable. Mr. Singh said India seeks to develop joint institutional capabilities with the SCO member states, which will create the spirit of cooperation among individuals, societies and nations. Indian Defence Minister proposed to host a workshop in India in 2023 on the theme Humanitarian Assistance and Disaster Relief HADR, Risk Mitigation and Disaster Resilient Infrastructure for the Defence Ministries of SCO member states. He voiced India's full support to be a peaceful, secure and stable Afghanistan. Mr. Singh also emphasized to respect the sovereignty, independence, territorial integrity, national unity and non-interference in internal affairs of Afghanistan. He urged all parties to encourage Afghanistan authorities to achieve national reconciliation through dialogue and negotiation. Indian External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar on Wednesday called on President of Brazil Jair Bolsonaro in Brasilia. He conveyed warm greetings of India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi and congratulated on Brazil's 200 years of independence. Dr. Jaishankar valued his guidance to further develop the India-Brazil strategic partnership. He appreciated the Brazil President's assessment on current global developments. Dr. Jaishankar also paid homage to Mahatma Gandhi at City Park in Brasilia.
Indian Education Minister Dharmendra Pradhan today held discussions with academic leaders of the top group of 8 Australian universities on building successful Australia-India research collaborations. Speaking on the occasion, Mr. Pradhan reiterated Prime Minister Narendra Modi's mantra of Jai Ansandhan, which he added to the slogan of Jai Jawan, Jai Kisan, Jai Vigyan in his 76th Independence Day address. The minister said strengthening research collaborations with India is a win-win for all. He further said that India and Australia have a promising research partnership. In today's Hotspot section, we have a discussion on China's decision to provide visa to Indian students. In conversation are Prasar Bharati Special Correspondent in Beijing, Anshuman Mishra, and AIR Correspondent Sonu Sood.
China has announced that from today it will commence the procedure of issuing visas to Indian students numbering around 23,000, most of them students of medicine, so that they can go back to China and resume their studies at the Chinese universities. Due to China's strict COVID restrictions, these students were in India for over 2 years, waiting to return to China and complete their academic courses. And Shumanji, this is a great victory for the students whose dreams have been cut short by the pandemic?
Yes, you're right. I mean, it's a very long wait for students who are studying in Chinese universities, and they had to return at some point of time in last 2 years from China due to COVID-19 pandemic and due to various other issues when they came back for some personal reasons, some emergency, and they could not go back. So this amounted to almost 20,000 students. Almost entire community of Indian students from China almost came back to India and could not return due to the strict COVID policies by China. But at this moment, I would like to say that even though COVID-19 restrictions were there, but the matter related to the students' future and their life definitely was very important. And this delay could have been avoided probably better. I mean, it's good that better sense prevailed and China finally resumed the visa for Indian students.
In fact, this decision is especially significant for the over 20,000 students enrolled in medical courses, as online classes do not allow for practical experience and would have made them ineligible to appear for the Foreign Medical Graduates Examination, FMGE, a licensure examination to practice in India. So would you say that for the medical students, it's actually a lifesaver, this decision?
Actually, the biggest problem was for medical students because, as you mentioned, that online classes would not suffice for the practical classes, which are really very much needed in case of medical courses, and online medical degrees would not be accepted anywhere in the world, not only in India but also in China. And this issue also I have clearly highlighted many times with the Chinese Foreign Ministry. So this definitely is a very significant decision for Indian medical students. Also, online classes have many other issues, even if for the theory classes, because there is a problem of time difference between India and China. Many students might have been working somewhere to make their ends because many have applied for student loan and all. Not everybody was able to take care of their study fee in China. So there were multiple kind of issues. So definitely this decision is going to help them a lot, but there are many hurdles still on the way.
You've talked about hurdles which are still there. Can you highlight what are the major hurdles which still remain?
So the first hurdle is that they can apply for student visas only if they have a certificate of return from their Chinese university. And from the current situation which I have gathered from speaking to some students who are waiting for their return. So many have not yet got any certificate from their universities. Few universities are in the process of preparing these certificates, but many universities have still not started yet. It means that they have not get clear communication from Chinese Foreign Ministry for issuance of such kind of certificates to the students. So this is one issue. Another issue is that when they go to VFS, the company which accepts the visa for China, so they have asked for a hard copy of the certificate, but it's not yet sure if they will send the hard copy and when will it reach, or a soft copy will do, because Chinese embassy in New Delhi has not mentioned the requirement of a hard copy of the certificate. So these are kind of practical issues. Apart from this, there are no direct flights. That is the biggest hurdle so far in this entire process. So it's very much required that both the governments can start the direct flights because China banned the direct flights from India in November 2020. So they need to start it again as soon as possible because flight fares are very high.
The matter of permitting Indian students to resume their studies in China was also brought up by our External Affairs Minister, Mr. S. Jaishankar, with his Chinese counterpart Wang Yi in March. Do you think the diplomatic efforts have also resulted in lifting of restrictions on Indian students traveling to China? And in light of what you were just telling us, the various hurdles which are there, you feel that in these matters also government can play a role?
Yes, you're right. Since the meeting of Dr. Jaishankar and Wang Yi in March, the issues were really sped up, I believe. And it was a very genuine concern of Indian students, and Dr. Jaishankar and Indian Embassy in Beijing, they very emphatically, very persuasively, they took up these cases repeatedly in last 2 years with the Chinese Ministry of Education and Chinese Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And definitely this helped a lot, and without constant pressure from the embassy and the Ministry of External Affairs, this would have been definitely delayed, I believe, a little more. So it really helped, and there are talks on between both India and China for resumption of direct flights. So let us see when this can be done, because that is the biggest hurdle for people-to-people exchanges, including students.
So whatever the legal system is there, whatever the guidelines are, there is a lot of online support available for students so that they can go on a website and they can really understand that what are the various aspects, what are the various parameters which they have to be aware of and prepare for.
I think the first thing which they need to take care while preparing for the departure from India, that would be, if I can tell you, the required documents. So for newly enrolled students, it would be original visa application for study in China and original admission letter issued by university in China. For students who are returning, who are already enrolled in any Chinese university, they need to get this certificate of return to the campus. Apart from this, the general documents which are required are the certificate of COVID-19 vaccination, and they need to get a green code from Chinese embassy in New Delhi. Then they need to again get a COVID test and a green code from a Chinese embassy in the transit country if they are not getting a direct flight, which is not available at the moment. So, and other requirements. So everything is mentioned on the website, and I'm sure they would be told by VSS for any other documents requirement. Not be an issue at the moment with this kind of information available.
Announcement on the website of Chinese Embassy in New Delhi said opening up of visas is for a variety of non-tourist Indian travelers, including students, businessmen, and families of those working in China. So would you say that today's this decision which has come is significant not only for Indian students but also for business development and economic growth?
Of course. If we see the business relations and bilateral trade, we have seen that despite all these border issue and COVID-19, still business bilateral trade has grown up only between India and China, and largely in the favor of China in terms of balance of payment and trade surplus in favor of China. Apart from that, definitely this decision will help for all those traders and business people who really want to visit China and then decide on their business decisions, especially in terms of trading, I would say, not in terms of investment or any other thing. So this will definitely help. But one thing I would like to highlight that in terms of business, China is very much clear, and they allowed just in the beginning of this month on 9th of August, they allowed a chartered flight from India to China only for the Indian traders and businessmen who flew to EU. EU is the main trade hub for Indian businessmen in past few years. So in terms of business, they all allowed this charter flight also, and while they did not consider students' issue for so long, that was a little bit unfortunate, I would say. Both should have been done at the same time, but definitely this decision is going to help many category of people.
Thank you so much for this detailed discussion on the much-awaited lifting of visa ban for Indian students by China, and we hope their return to China is smooth and they are able to realize all their dreams. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Speaker of Lower House of Indian Parliament, Om Birla, met the Australian parliamentary delegation on the sidelines of the 65th Commonwealth Parliamentary Conference at Halifax in Canada. Mr. Birla, in his interaction with the Australian delegation, highlighted the role of youth in nation building and stressed that young women and men from both countries should interact regularly and contribute to development through knowledge sharing. Mr. Birla lauded the Indian diaspora for celebrating the foreign soil, the Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, on the completion of 75 years of the nation's independence. The Speaker of the Lower House of Indian Parliament also participated in the opening ceremony of the 65th Commonwealth Parliamentary Conference and interacted with the presiding officers and parliamentarians of other Commonwealth countries. On the occasion, he reiterated India's commitment to strengthening parliamentary democracy and to making legislatures inclusive. Thailand's Constitutional Court on Wednesday suspended Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha until it rules on a petition filed by the opposition parties. This comes after the court accepted the Thai opposition's petition on the expiration of the maximum term of office of PM Prayut Chan-o-cha. 5 out of 9 judges voted for the Prime Minister's suspension. The opposition had filed a petition with the court on Monday. Media reports said Mr. Prayut first awarded himself the Prime Minister's post in 2014 after staging a military coup. Thailand's military-drafted constitution was promulgated in 2017 after a referendum that limits the Prime Ministers to 8 years in office cumulatively. The opposition argues that Prayut's years as Premier started in August 2014 when he received the royal endorsement signed by King Bhumibol Adulyadej. Meanwhile, the ruling party contends that Prayut's term started in 2019 when he was elected to the premiership after the first general election held under the latest constitution.
Japan's Prime Minister on Wednesday called for a push to revive the country's nuclear power industry in a bid to tackle soaring imported energy costs linked to the Ukraine war. Such a move could prove controversial after the 2011 Fukushima disaster led to the suspension of many nuclear reactors over safety fears. But like many countries, Japan, which is aiming to become carbon neutral by 2050, has faced a squeeze on its energy supplies since Russian military operation in Ukraine 6 months ago. Addressing an energy policy meeting, Prime Minister Fumio Kishida said, Russia's military operation of Ukraine has vastly transformed the world's energy landscape, and so Japan needs to bear in mind potential crisis scenarios. This is All India Radio giving you the world news. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on Twitter at AIR News Alerts.
U.S. President Joe Biden announced nearly $3 billion in military aid to Kyiv on Wednesday as Ukraine marked its Independence Day 6 months after Russia's military operation in the country. President Biden said in a statement that he is proud to announce the biggest tranche of security assistance to date, approximately $2.98 billion of weapons and equipment to be provided through the Ukraine Security Assistance Initiative. He said this will allow Ukraine to acquire air defense systems, artillery systems and munitions, counter unmanned aerial systems and radars to ensure it can continue to defend itself over a long term. U.S. President Joe Biden has appointed more than 130 Indian Americans to key positions in his administration so far, the best representation from the community that makes up around 1% of the American population. In doing so, he has not only fulfilled his promise to the community that he had made as a presidential candidate in 2020, but also shattered the record of his predecessor Donald Trump, who had appointed more than 80 Indian Americans, and his previous boss Barack Obama, who had appointed over 60 Indian Americans to key positions during his 8 years of presidency.
UN Under-Secretary General for Humanitarian Affairs and Emergency Relief Coordinator Martin Griffiths called out the Taliban for reopening girls' schools. In a statement on Tuesday, Mr. Griffiths said, the situation of Afghan women and girls is regressing. Previously, Amnesty International had said that women and girls have been stripped of their rights and face a bleak future, according to local press. The Taliban regime in Afghanistan has drawn heavy criticism across the world for a decree banning girls from school above 6th grade. It has been over 300 days since girls' schools have been closed. In Pakistan, people of Rawalpindi staged a protest against inflated electricity bills by blocking major roads in the city on Wednesday. The protesters burnt electricity bills and demanded the government to abolish all taxes on electricity bills. Besides holding demonstrations outside the government offices, people resorted to social media to criticize Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif and his cabinet members. Apart from it, protests have also erupted in different parts of Pakistan's Karachi due to the unannounced and prolonged load shedding. Last month, Prime Minister Shehbaz said the federal government was making all-out efforts to revive the stalled power plants to put an end to the huge energy crisis faced by the country. In the wake of massive floods across Pakistan, the Shehbaz Sharif government has launched an international appeal seeking funds for relief and rehabilitation of flood-hit people across the country. Local media reported that the decision to reach out to the world was made during an emergency meeting to reassess the damage caused by floods and to apprise donors of the magnitude of the crisis. In a video message, Mr. Shehbaz said, the current relief operation needs 80 billion Pakistan rupees and hundreds of billions of rupees are also required to overcome the losses as well as for rehabilitation of the victims. So far, the massive floods in Pakistan have claimed at least 830 lives and left thousands of people across the country homeless.
Parts of the European Union could face 3 more months of warmer and drier conditions as Europe witnesses a major drought that has fueled forest fires, dried up rivers and devastated crops. The EU's Earth Observation Programme in a report for the month of August said warmer and drier than usual conditions are likely to occur in the Western Euro-Mediterranean region in the coming months till November 2022. Almost half of the 27-nation EU is under drought warning. Over the past 75 years since independence, India's largest public service broadcaster, All India Radio, has been the proverbial storyteller for the 1.3 billion citizens across the country. All India Radio is celebrating 75 years of freedom with the series Azad Bharat Ki Baat, Akashvani ke Saath. It showcases the journey of India since independence in various walks of life through the storytelling of All India Radio.
आजाद भारत की बात आकाशवाणी के साथ, reliving the journey of India since independence over the last 75 years with All India Radio. From 15th August, the series is being broadcast on All India Radio, 100.1 FM Gold Channel, primetime news bulletins and across all its platforms. Tune in to stay updated with All India Radio. In today's episode, we bring you the story of the Prime Ministers of India who served the nation from the 14th of January 1980 to the 21st of April 1997. Indira Gandhi was sworn in as the Prime Minister on the 14th of January 1980 and held the post till her death on the 31st of October 1984. Rajiv Gandhi became the Prime Minister on October the 31st, 1984 and he continued to serve till the 2nd of December 1989.
I, Rajiv Gandhi, do solemnly affirm that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of India as by law established, that I will uphold the sovereignty and integrity of India, that I will faithfully and conscientiously discharge my duties as Prime Minister for the Union, and that I will do right to all manner of people in accordance with the Constitution and the law, without fear or favour, affection or ill will.
Vishwanath Pratap Singh was elected as the Prime Minister on the 2nd of December 1989 and held the post till the 10th of November 1990.
और हम जानते हैं अगर भारत को सबल करना है तो हमको उद्योग को भी सबल करना होगा. उद्योग की हम अवहेलना नहीं कर सकते हैं. बिना एक सशक्त औद्योगिक आधार के भारत सबल नहीं होगा. उसको हम मजबूती से करेंगे और इसमें विशेष रूप से निर्यात की ओर भी हमको ध्यान देना होगा और छोटे लघु उद्योगों की ओर भी हमको ध्यान देना होगा. और जो लाल फीते शाही के अंदर हमारे उत्पादन की शक्तियां जो बंधी रही हैं, उद्योग के दृष्टि उस लाल फीते शाही को भी हमको काट करके उत्पादन की शक्तियों को अग्रसर करना.
Chandrasekhar held the post from the 10th of November 1990 to the 21st of June 1991.
SAARC came into being despite the problems, large and small, which have existed between the member countries. While these differences impose a certain discipline on our agenda, cooperation within the framework provided by SAARC should help to create a new climate by the resolution of these differences. Economic cooperation among the South Asian countries has its own logic and compulsions.
P.V. Narasimha Rao became the Prime Minister on the 21st of June 1991 and continued till May 16th, 1996.
भारत के 44वें स्वतंत्रता दिवस के इस शुभ अवसर पर मैं आप सबको अभिवादन करता हूं. आखिरी 10वां चुनाव अभी हाल में संपन्न हुआ. इन चुनावों में हमने आपकी प्रसन्नता देखी, आपकी नाराजगी देखी, लेकिन समय समय पर जो भी आपने हमें प्रदान किया उसे हमने सिर आंखों पर लगाया और आप ही के आदेश पर हम चलते रहे. हम आपके हैं, आप में से आते हैं, आपके रहेंगे, यही हमारा पता है. यही हमारी पहचान है। इसके अलावा हमें किसी पहचान की कोई आवश्यकता नहीं है।
H.D. Devegowda became the Prime Minister on the 1st of June 1996 and held the post till the 21st of April 1997.
I, H.D. Devegowda, do swear in the name of God that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of India as by law established, that I will uphold the sovereignty and integrity of India, that I will faithfully and conscientiously discharge my duty as Prime Minister for the Union, and that I will do right to all manner of people except as may be required for the due discharge of my duties as Prime Minister.
Inder Kumar Gujral took over as the Prime Minister on the 21st of April 1997 and served till 19th of March 1998.
That I will uphold the sovereignty and integrity of India, that I will faithfully and conscientiously discharge my duties as Prime Minister for the Union, and that I will do the right to all manner of people in accordance with the Constitution and the law without consideration.
And now we move to our special segment, Popuri. Indian state of Manipur is well known for its rich horticultural products. The state is one among those leading in pineapple production in India. Recently, the Manipur government exported around 20 metric tons of pineapple to Dubai. A pineapple festival was held in Manipur to mark the 75 years of pineapple cultivation. We have more detail about the festival from our correspondent J.K. Thokchom.
The two-day festival is organized by Manipur Pineapple Festival Committee and the pineapple cultivator of Bunglon village and nearby villagers. On the first day, the festival was celebrated with music and cultural dance performance by various troops. The festival aimed to encourage the pineapple farmers and provide a platform for marketing. Speaking to the World News of All India Radio, the spokesperson of Manipur Pineapple Festival Committee, N.G. Sanggangte, said that the festival also publicized the pineapple production in Khoksabung area.
The main objective is to promote pineapple in the state, as it is our main occupation. Lechongpu brought only 40 suckers of pineapple from Assam in the year 1947. From that day, he planted that 40 suckers in his garden. It was spread after some years. The plantation was expanded year by year from 1947 to up to 50.
During the festival, a number of stalls were open to sell pineapple and its value addition products. The World News team interacted with one of the stall owner and she expressed that the festival has given a chance to promote their production.
My name is Indira Gandhi. I'm from Bunglon village, one of the stall vendors. The festival is very exciting, and I myself also one of the participants in the best pineapple contest. And it was really great. The sale about my vendor is around 24,000 was my revenue within those 2 days. And I expect in future the pineapple festival would bring out more and more pineapple farmer in the area as well as in the district.
JJ Thoksom from Imphal for World News.
Indian shuttlers H.S. Pranoy and Lakshya Sen will face each other in pre-quarter final clash of men's singles of World Championships in Tokyo. Unseeded Pranoy stunned second seed Kento Momota to record a sensational win, while reigning Commonwealth Games champion Lakshya Sen beat Spaniard Luis Enrique Penvalver on Wednesday. Indian men's doubles pair of M.R. Arjun and Dhruv Kapila also made their way to pre-quarter finals, beating the Danish pair of K. Astrup, A. Rasmussen.
And now a quick look at the headlines once again. Indian Defence Minister Rajnath Singh calls upon SCO member states to fight against terrorism together, addresses the SCO Defence Minister at a meeting at Tashkent in Uzbekistan. Indian External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar calls on President of Brazil, Jair Bolsonaro in Brasilia. Education Minister of India Dharmendra Pradhan holds talks with academic leaders of top Australian universities. US President Joe Biden announces nearly $3 billion military aid to Ukraine on its Independence Day. Thailand's Constitutional Court temporarily suspends Prime Minister Prayut's pending term limit review, and shuttlers H.S. Pranoy and Lakshya Sen to face each other in All India Men's Singles pre-quarter final World Championships in Tokyo. And now, Before we end, let us listen to Mahatma Gandhi's favorite bhajan, Vaishnava Jan, by artists from Russia. And with that, we end this bulletin. We'll be back at the same time tomorrow with the next edition of World News.